Welcome back. Happening right now, we are following the massacre in Pakistan where militants stormed a university campus, gunning down students and teachers. At least 22 people killed, dozens more injured in an attack that one Taliban leader initially claimed responsibility for, but then the Pakistani Taliban as a group denied any involvement. Now, the raid ended in a gunfight with police and 4 attackers dead. Pakistan's prime minister promises to retaliate. Will this attack unite his country against extremism? I'm joined now by KT McFarland, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense under President Ronald Reagan and Fox News national security analyst. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. So we heard strong words there saying that they are going to fight back. Pakistan will. Will they be able to?
You know, this is the problem. I mean, the Taliban, Islamic extremists, have infiltrated the intelligence services of Pakistan. They're all over the country. And what this attack shows is that, regardless of who claims credit for it, you know, whether it was the Pakistan, the Taliban military or the Taliban political, it was done by some group of Taliban. And they're showing that they can operate in not only Afghanistan, but now in Pakistan. So they're showing that they're on the rise. We've seen in the last 2 months Taliban attacks in Afghanistan, but what this shows is the Taliban is also in neighboring Pakistan. That it's moving across those borders and it's expanding its reach.
So why do we care?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, why do we care about Afghanistan? Why do we care about Pakistan? I have long thought that Pakistan is the country to worry more about than Afghanistan. Afghanistan, we don't really have any strategic interest there. We've, for a decade, propped up leaders who don't like us in a country that I think doesn't really matter. Pakistan is different. Why? It has 100 nuclear weapons. Now, what happens if the Pakistan government falls? What happens if the Taliban Islamic extremists take charge of that government? What if they get their hands on the weapons that are in Pakistan? What happens then? Then you have the nightmare scenario. Nuclear weapons in the hands of crazy Islamic extremists who want to use them.
So we have the Taliban and we have ISIS to deal with.
Yeah, but it's the same phenomenon in a lot of ways, because Taliban is expanding now Afghanistan and Pakistan. In the other part of the Middle East, in the Levant, we have ISIS expanding in Syria and in Iraq, and now destroying Christian sites in Iraq in a very deliberate move, because what they want to do is destroy anything that's not them.
Right, and we want to talk a little bit more about that and let people know at home what we're referencing. A piece of Christian history gone forever now, destroyed by ISIS, the oldest Christian monastery in Iraq, more than 1,000 years old. The Associated Press confirmed the demolition after requesting some satellite images. You can take a look at that here. It was on a hill near Mosul. It's among many historic and religious sites destroyed by ISIS because they consider them symbols of other religions that they want to do away with. Yeah.
Well, it's a form of brainwashing. ISIS wants to obliterate anything that has to do with Christianity, other forms of Islam. They want to obliterate anything that has to do with history in the region. We've seen that in other places they've destroyed pre-Christian, pre-Jewish, pre-religious sites. It's the same thing the Taliban did in 2000 in Afghanistan, where they destroyed the Buddhas that were carved by Buddhists, the Bamiyan Buddhas they were called, large statues carved by the Buddhists 1,500 years ago. So both groups have the same objective. We're going to eliminate and obliterate anything that's not us, and it's a form of brainwashing. If you have no other reference in your society but them and their clerical leaders, that's it.
And this monastery has stood for, what, 1,400 years. They used bulldozers, they used bombs, they used all kinds of things to knock down these walls. At one point, the United States military was protecting it.
And worshiping there. What ISIS has done, one of the ways they make their money, Heather, is they sell antiquities. So they go into these sites. Anything that moves, they sell on the black market and they make a lot of money on it. What can't move, they bulldoze, they destroy, they obliterate, because they want to erase all frames of reference for anyone in that country other than them. And if it's a Christian site, they particularly want to eliminate it.
So what can we do about it? I mean, what can possibly be done? Just let it happen?
Well, I look at the Middle East, and I was with Secretary Gates last night, former Secretary of Defense. He said the Middle East is going to be in a generational struggle, and I agree with him. It's going to be a fight that's between Shiites and Sunnis, between reformers, between fundamentalists. It's going to go tribe to tribe. It's going to obliterate the national borders. And I think we need to take a big step back. What are our interests in the region? We need to keep the terrorists there, not let them here. We need to help Israel survive. but I'm not sure we belong in the middle of that civil war.
Do you agree that the way to fight ISIS is to hit them in their pocketbooks? Do you think that that will
Not only in their pocketbooks. This is an ideological fight,
Mm-hmm.
too. ISIS has shown how active they are on social media, on the internet. We're not doing that. We used to do that during the Cold War. We fought an ideological battle with the communists. We are not fighting an ideological battle with ISIS and Islamic extremists, and that's where we should put our efforts. There, economic, political, also military, but don't only use military, because we've seen for 15 years, we have not eliminated radical Islam. It's grown.
Right.
So we need a much bigger fight that is across more avenues of attack.
Yeah, I like the term you used at the beginning of our conversation, an infection. An infection that is spreading both the Taliban and ISIS.
If you don't get an infection, rid of it the first time, it comes back and it's stronger than ever, comes roaring back. That's what ISIS is doing. That's what the Taliban is doing.
All right. KT McFarland, always a pleasure to talk to you. Could talk to you for hours. Thank you.